So happy Easter to everyone. Figured I'd do a quick video this morning, give everybody enough chance if they wanted to try this, on deviled eggs. Because everybody Easter dinner has deviled eggs. And deviled eggs are everyone's favorite. Okay, but anyway, a lot of people, there's 5,000 different ways to make deviled eggs. This one's a little bit different, and I like this one, and it seems like a lot of people like it, so I figured I'd show you, and maybe it's something you would like too. So when you're doing deviled eggs, a couple tips. I boiled these eggs yesterday. I think that's a little bit better because when you're going to take them apart, they're a little better if they're solid than when they're hot. Sometimes when they're hot and you start cutting them, you kind of mash them down and you break the sides and they'll split and they don't hold all the stuffing. So I like to let them set in the refrigerator overnight. The other thing is too, use the smallest, thinnest knife you have. Really, if you have a cheese cutter that has the wire, it's the best thing for these. You don't want to go forcing a fat blade through these knives because it breaks it. Again, it breaks them up. So when you're using it, use the thinnest knife you have. And this little paring knife here, it's really super thin. And the other thing is, you just want to give them the tip. Now, it's family show here, but only use the tip of your knife as far as it needs to go into the egg. Don't come down here where the blade's the fattest and force that through your egg. Start with the tip of the knife, and I don't know how well you can see this, but you'll be able to see, and only go through the egg with just this barely tip of the knife sticking through the egg. That way you're not messing the egg up by forcing that fat part through it. The other thing is when your yolks tend to stick, you're better off wiping that off because it just makes your next egg look kind of rough. So you don't have to do that. I'm not going to go back and clean all these up, any of them that have it on there, but you're better off, if you can, to wipe that off each time, and that keeps them a little cleaner. So when you've got them, and you're taking your eggs out here, I want everybody to be able to see this, I use the back of a spoon, and I turn the spoon the opposite way. A lot of times you'd want to dig into this with this spoon. I turn it away from it. I'll actually be doing it from the bottom, so that I don't dig into the side of my egg. So I'm going to use the back of this spoon, and I'm just going to pop these yolks out. Now I do have I'm going to show this real quick. I do have a beautiful little egg tray that Sarah got me. Honey baby got me a little Easter gift. And this just goes to show how many deviled eggs we make. We now have our own little deviled egg tray. And it has a little fork with it, a little cutter picker upper fork. And it says, let me open it here so you can see it. This is about one of the coolest gifts ever. Gosh dang it, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. This ribbon is coming off one way or another. I don't play when it comes to my deviled egg trays. I get a deviled egg tray for a present. I'm getting it loose. And it says, feeling devilish. I love it. So anyway, that's gonna be our egg tray, but we're not putting them in there now because it's still too cute where Sarah had it all set up. So let me get that other so it looks pretty. Anyway, you've got your fork. You've got your eggs. Turn that spoon the opposite way. Dig out these yolks. I got those going into this bowl here. Now, when you get this thin side of these eggs, be really careful. You see, I kind of split that one a little bit. Usually, you want to pull from that side, not toward that side. See how that's real thin? I'd be better off starting over there and pushing that egg out the other way than I am pushing that egg into that thin side where it'll break. So I just kind of push them. And that one did anyway, because that one really stuck. But anyway, we'll set that to the side. I'm not going to use that. So now we're going to have 23 deviled eggs instead of 24. So I've got them all in there. I better keep this because I always need a spoon every time I do one of these. I've got these. I'm going to use my new fork, honey baby. You want to just kind of break these up. Now the whole key to this is know when to stop. Because if you just keep going, you basically turn this back into a solid by pressing it too much. You press these things down until they break up, these yolks, and then you stop and you go on. And even if you've got a couple of a little bit bigger pieces, move on to the next step. Because if you keep pressing this, you just press it all into a big old cake on the bottom of your bowl. So try and break them up as much as you can. You want it to, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to pipe these into these eggs here in just a minute. And it works a little bit better the smaller they are, because that way you can cut your hole a little smaller. But again, this is not the stage where you're going to, there's no stage where you're going to spend all afternoon, but this is certainly not it. break those up as much as you can without smashing that up, and just kind of toss them around. See if you see a whole yolk in there still. So for our filling, if in the past you went to grandma's house, they usually had sweet relish in it, and occasionally you'd find somebody who used dill relish and all that. What makes these different, I'm just gonna leave that there so I can set those in there. What makes these different is I like to use salsa and sour cream in these, and a little bit of mayo. So we're gonna start with just a little mayo. Not very much, because you don't want this to be too wet and mushy. So that's about a tablespoon, give or take. Then, this is one thing that I will wash this off real quick. So I got about a tablespoon of mayo. I'm gonna add just a little garlic to this. Now you know, Sarah and I, oh honey baby and I tend to go heavy on the garlic. I like a little garlic flavor. That's about not even a half a teaspoon. Probably a clove, a good sized clove of garlic if you're using cloves. We got our sour cream here. About 2 teaspoons of sour cream. Not quite as much as we use on the mayo, but we're using the mayo for the real overall creaminess of it. I've got a little cider vinegar here. You don't need a lot of this because there's a lot of acidity in the salsa. So, teaspoon and a half. I've got black pepper, which oddly enough says garlic powder on the top of it, but I know it's black pepper, so I'm going to add a little splash of that. Here's a little salt for all the salt lovers. Now, I have salsa. This is the can of salsa, and everybody's going to say, why are you using a can of salsa? Well, that's what we got, honestly. But also, I like this salsa because it's really, really, really finely ground up. If you're going to use the salsa that has the big chunks in it, you're going to need to run that through a food processor because you don't want these full of the big chunks of onion, pepper, and all that. So anyway, there's 2 teaspoons. There's about 3 teaspoons. What we've got to do is put this together and see how this tastes. Deviled eggs are one of those things you need to be tasted. That consistency looks like it's going to be pretty much spot on. And this was on a dozen eggs, so 24 deviled eggs. So you get it, and mix it up like so. And then you give it a little taste. The garlic stand, ooh. Man, that's stand outy. Standy outy. So I'm adding a little bit more of the salsa to it. I just want a little more depth of flavor. The creaminess of it's fine. I just want a little bit more of a depth of flavor out of this. So I'm gonna add a little bit more sour cream. Not too much, because then it's gonna get way creamy, because I just had a little bit more salsa. So I've got that. It does need a little more salt, even though I don't really salt anything too much. And I'm gonna hit this with a little bit more pepper. Stir this up really good. Make sure it's all mixed in. And again, you're going to need to put these back. Maybe not again. Maybe I didn't say this first time. You're going to need to put these back in the refrigerator for this to kind of set back up. So, oh, that's nice right there. That's really nice. Ooh. Oh boy. Okay, so I got my eggs. And I've got a bag here somewhere. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our little fork out of there. I've kind of learned, I'm like an old dog that can learn new tricks. Normally I would have beat that fork on the side of that bowl, and when we watch the video later, we'd be like, why are you beating stuff on that bowl? It makes much. So yeah, you can teach an old dog new tricks. So, I got my Ziploc bag here. It'd probably be easier if I used a gallon bag, but I'm using a quart, no matter what anyone says. So I'm gonna put those down in there. After I get it everywhere, I'm gonna put it down in there, like so. And then I'll move my bowl out of the way here. Press the air out of that. Get a good seal on it, because that's the key. Otherwise, it's all gonna come out the top on you. Now, finding a pair of scissors, around this place is impossible. So I'll have to cut this with a knife. Go to one of these bottom corners and cut you off a corner. Not very big. That's why we wanted that salsa in small pieces, so we didn't have to have a big hole in this. You got your eggs in there in some sort of order. You start pressing your bag down. You can roll this, or you can press it, however you want to do it. And then you pipe it into the eggs. Ooh, somebody's getting one that's completely full. And then you just go through here and you just pipe these bad boys. Why does there keep ending up half an egg laying there? It's almost like the carbonara effect. I moved that, and then the next thing I looked at, eggs back there by themselves. What's going on with that? But anyway, pipe this all in there where it looks really super pretty. If you got one of those little piping things, like if you're a baker or whatever, you could use that, but I like these Ziploc bags. This little guy here, he got no room. Come on out of there, feller. Get him in there. There's one just sitting over there. There's just one random egg just sitting over here. Thought he was getting away. Little did he know. All right, so you got it piped in there. Those look amazing. Now, this right before we serve these, just to make them extra pretty, I would take my all-time favorite seasoning. You all know this, the smoked paprika. And I would give them a little dust like so. You could use regular paprika if you don't want any of the smoke flavor. And lastly, I would hit these with just a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And that would be how we would serve these. We'd probably put them on a little bit prettier platter than it. But anyway, there you go. Salsa and sour cream deviled eggs that are absolutely delicious. And happy Easter from our family to yours.